Welcome to this workflow masterclass, where we'll be looking at some of the technologies and solutions that Canon provides to really help you make the most of your images. We'll be looking at the workflow in two parts. Firstly, the editing process, where you can edit and manage your images so that they look their best. We'll then look at the output process, where you can both print or project your images such that you can really show them off to their best to the wider world. During this masterclass, we're following the workflow of leading Dutch fashion photographer Alec, so that we can see how he really puts to work the Canon solution workflow. If you want to know more about the fashion shoot, then take a look at the fashion masterclass elsewhere on the CPN website.
My name is Thomas, I'm Alex's assistant, and whenever he's shooting I assist him on the set. And besides setting up the lights and all that, and setting up the camera, I help him with importing the images and check the images for focus and contrast. When the image is downloaded into the computer, we make a selection and make a crop to check if it fits into the magazine.
Once the shutter's clicked, we need to start thinking about getting the images off the camera and into the Canon workflow. Now within the box, Canon provide a very complete workflow solution. We're going to be having a look at EOS Utility and Digital Photo Professional. These are ways that you can transfer the images from the camera to the computer and then start processing them so you can really make the most of them. We're now ready to start importing the images. We're going to use EOS Utility to do this because it allows us to choose a download location and also automatically rename the files as they're being imported. This allows us to keep a really tight control of where images go and what they're called, so that we can start building a file structure from them. So with the images in DPP, we can now start looking at running through them and giving them a rating. The way we're going to do this is to use the Quick Check tool, which is found under Tools, Start Quick Check. This will allow you to cycle through all the images that you've imported and give them a rating, either 1, 2 or 3, corresponding to how good you think the image is. This means that you can start editing out the chaff, the not so good images that you don't want to look at, and really select down to the images that you want to spend your time processing and making use of. Once you've cycled through all the images, you can go back out into the main viewer window and then sort the images by rating. In this way, the images that you really want to work on can be brought up to the top so that you can find them and start processing them quickly and easily. So now that we've got the images rated, we can start looking at them in the Edit Image window. So we've sorted the images into 1, 2 and 3, and we've got all the images we want to work on right at the top. Select these images and click Edit Image window in the top left-hand corner. What you'll now see is the image will pop up and you'll have a list of thumbnails down the left-hand side, which you can turn on and off by using the button at the top. And you'll also have a tool palette on the right-hand side. Again, this can be turned on and off. The tool palette has 3 tabs. The RAW tab, the RGB tab, and the lens correction tab. The RAW tab is for working with raw images. It has a brightness slider, a white balance correction option, a picture style option, some contrast sliders, highlight and shadow sliders, and some saturation as well. So you can work through these images using these tools to process them and get them looking exactly as you want them. Once you've made some adjustments in the RAW tab, you can start making use of the RGB tab as well. Now you'll notice that a lot of the sliders are quite similar in name to the sliders in the RAW tab. They're slightly different, but if you use both sliders in the RAW tab and the RGB tab, they're additive. This means that say you adjust the sharpness in RAW and the sharpness in RGB, the image will then be doubly sharp when you come to output it. Also in the RGB tab, you'll find a curves adjustment. Here you can adjust the curves for either the red, green or blue channels independently, or indeed for all 3 as one. Using this, you can make fine adjustments to the contrast of the image. Now that we've processed the image so that it's looking basically as we want it to, in terms of colour and exposure, we can start making use of some of the other tools to be found in DPP. The first one we're going to look at is the Stamp tool. Now the Stamp tool allows you to clone out dust spots that may have been on the camera sensor when you took the images. In this way you can really clean up the image and make it look its best. If you've captured dust delete data on the camera, you can use it to automatically remove any dust spots that may be in the image. if you want to know more about collecting Dust Elite data and making use of it, you can have a look at the Dust Elite Data Masterclass elsewhere on the CPN website. Another tool we can make use of is the trimming tool. The trimming tool is used to crop your image. You get to it by clicking Tools, Start Trimming Tool. Once in the trimming tool, on the right-hand side, you'll see a drop-down list where you can select a series of ratios. For these images, we're going to be using a 5:4 crop because it suits the output the images are going to be put to. We've now got the images looking like we want them to. They're correct in terms of exposure and white balance, they've got good colour saturation, we've trimmed them and we've removed any dust spots. If this is all you want to do, the images are now ready for use. However, if you want to do some more complex editing to the image, perhaps smoothing skin tones, then you can output the image to either a TIFF or a JPEG using the batch process function. You need to select the images that you want to output, and in the top right-hand corner choose Batch Process. In here you'll find a series of settings. You can choose the output location, click Browse and navigate to the folder or indeed create a new folder. You'll also find an option to choose what file you want to output. This can be TIFF or JPEG, 8-bit, 16-bit, with or without EXIF data. There's also an option to set the resolution. You'll find an option to rename the files as well. With all these settings made, you simply need to click Execute in the bottom right-hand corner, and the images will start being processed. Now this processing is handled in the background by DPP. This means that you don't have to sit around waiting for the images to process out. You can actually go back into other parts of the program and continue working on other files. We've run through the editing process and we've now got the images looking exactly as we want them to. So it comes down to sharing the shots. Now Canon's not just a camera manufacturer. They also make a whole series of other tools that are useful in this workflow process. First off, we're going to look at the PIXMA Pro printers. For printing, you could output to TIFF and JPEG and print that way. However, Canon has a proprietary print technology that allows you to print direct from a RAW file. Printing direct from RAW is obviously a great advantage because with a Canon camera producing a Canon file, going into the Canon software and out through a Canon printer, you can really make the most of all the data you've captured. They also have a whole range of large format IPF printers, such that you could make a really enormous print to display on a wall or give to a client as a final output. Canon also make a whole range of projectors. Now as a professional photographer, you want to be looking at the XEED range of projectors because these are high-end projectors for professional uses. Let's say you're shooting for a client and you've got an art director on set. You could shoot wirelessly and transmit JPEG images back to a computer. These could then be automatically transmitted and shown by the projector up on a wall somewhere. In this way, your art director can get a really good view of what's going on, such that he can give you feedback to get better images. Thanks for watching this workflow masterclass. We hope you've enjoyed it and found it interesting. If you want to know more about some of the features that we've talked about, for example DPP, you can take a look at our in-depth Digital Photo Professional Masterclass elsewhere on the CPN website.